I think we will, it's 6:30, so we'll call to order the library board meeting for Tuesday, September 17th. We are on camera, people, so just so you guys know, okay? Call to order the meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. I'm asking for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports. Joseph. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, a consent agenda. I guess I'm rushing through this little thing tonight. I'm asking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a
Joanne
motion.
can, that's
Okay.
fine.
Motion.
I write it down.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, Joseph.
All right. So if you look it over, on the second page, all we had for park, the Patrons Park Fund was some park maintenance in August. And so the total is there. And then for the money market account, all we had was one family night presentation that was paid this month, and then just the interest of $163.
Questions?
Pardon me?
Questions?
Oh,
Okay. Could we, in the future, get this with the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then, on the market-linked certificate of deposit, I asked Joe before the meeting, he has not had an opportunity to get briefed on this from Schilling. And let me just give you a brief summary of how this works. We take so much money, invest it in like a basket. It's a basket of stocks. And we are guaranteed that we will get our principal back at the end of the period. So the interest or the value of that basket can increase and decrease over time. When there is interest on it, that money is supposed to be automatically deposited in the library checking account. It doesn't look like that's been happening. If we decide to sell prior to the term, we potentially could make money, we potentially could lose money. So it's not a good idea to use it outside of the term, primarily because this is public monies and we are not supposed to be trying to make money on those, like investing in the stock market. This is a guaranteed return that we will get our principal back. So therefore, what you should be doing, Joe, is reporting this at the 43,000.
Okay.
I don't know where the 881 came from. That may be a value at one point.
Yeah, that was the last statement we had received.
Okay, but you should normally report this as 43,000 because right
Okay.
now you could be overvaluing it.
okay.
You know, because if
Okay.
it drops, then you'd be,
Okay.
Okay, I see.
That's the
Right.
fluctuation.
Just better
I see.
off.
Okay.
Then on the Patrons Park Fund, what did we spend money on? Or is that on the
Maintenance.
backside?
It's
Huh?
on the backside, it's the maintenance for the park.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it-
sorry.
Yeah, it was $800 of park maintenance.
And where did this about $70 come from in the building fund? Is that an interest
Yeah.
in 1 month?
That's what was reported from Carrie.
Well, it was at $70 interest in 1 month. That's pretty damn good interest. Are you sure it's interest? That's my
I don't know what
question.
else it could be.
Well, we could go back and ask.
Well, we
ask
should
you.
find out.
Yep.
And then in the money market checking account, where did the $330 go from last month? Last month, we had 38,
Well, 325 went to the family night for Randy
Yeah,
Peterson.
it's on the second side as well.
all right,
Okay.
all right, I'm not matching the two, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good enough.
Any other questions for Joseph? I do see that it was changed to operating expense fund, the top line, which is good, because that's more of a depiction of what that actually is, so I think that's good. Okay,
Four B?
oh, yeah, well, wait, I gotta find my agenda. 4B, the electronic banking read-only access approval.
Yes, so that we just needed it in the minutes to get a view-only account through the bank.
It's
Has it been
listed.
changed?
It has not yet because it needed to be in the
Right.
minutes and it wasn't.
Okay.
Okay, but did we approve it last month? No, we
Yes.
have
We
to.
did not.
We approved the address change,
Okay.
which I did bring in and should be done on the next.
Okay,
I would hope.
so we need to approve the access change?
Yes,
Okay.
well, yeah, we need
So
to
for the read
approve a view-only account through the bank, yes.
Do we all understand that?
So we need a motion to approve the electronic banking read-only access.
For Joseph.
For Joseph.
So moved.
We have a motion, Joanne?
Second,
Can Joseph second it?
I'm,
I don't know.
We
I'll
don't.
second it, it's fine.
There you go, thanks, Jeff.
yeah.
Okay, we have yeah, maybe you need to abstain, 'cause
I
it's,
don't know.
we have a motion and a second to allow the electronic banking read-only access for the accounts. Any discussion?
Is there any restrictions on who can see it?
Like who can log in or?
Who
what do you
can
mean?
look at it?
It would just be whoever, like, I'm sure you'd need to log in and then
Password.
most banks now you need to verify on your phone or through an
Well-
email that you're the one going into this site, so.
So can I look at it?
I mean, depending on how we get it set up, possibly.
Not that I want to, I'm looking at,
I
In this
think,
case, Doug, you would,
Right.
because barring getting that second code, no different than not being the treasurer, I can't call up the bank and talk to them about
Right.
our
Right.
business.
well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Let's
We
make
have to
sure
have
that,
verified code to do
Yeah.
that. And
Okay.
usually that's me
Yeah.
from, even if I had the username and password, if you have that
Right.
second step, I'm getting
no, I
nowhere.
just want to make sure that we've got that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, library,
Public comments?
public comments, yeah, I'm skipping today for some reason. I must be in a hurry to get out of here. Do we have any public comments? No? Okay. Maybe that's why I usually skip it. We never have public comments. Library Director's Report. Miss Amy.
Okay. In the packet is my director's report. I'm happy to report the water feature is repaired and up and running. Yes. It was a leak formed due to the ground settling, with the water feature, and we were told it should not happen again, but if it should, to call.
Was there any cost?
I have not got a bill.
Good.
Let's see, my notes. Sarah Davister will be attending Leadership West Bend for the 2019-2020 year. We're excited for her to go through that program. And I will be giving a presentation in November for that program, and they will tour the library as well. So on History and Culture Day. The interest the library receives is based on the funds in each fund. So the rate has ranged from about 2.38% to 2.5% this year so far. I got that information from Carrie.
Question. Have you heard back on the building responsibility?
No, I have not. I did send that to Jay a week and a half ago
All right.
in an email, and I have not heard a response yet.
Is the note that you copied, is that the email?
Yes, the email is in your packet.
Right. Okay.
and I sent it to the people listed on the top.
Okay.
Then statistics review.
Wait, just a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
You had asked for a response by September 12th.
Mhm.
And why don't you just send a follow-up that we had the board meeting and we were wondering why there's no response. I'm wondering why there's no response.
Sure.
So who are you emailing?
Jay.
Okay. And then if we want to look at the statistics, I know there's probably some questions on them, even though you just got them tonight. If you had any chance to review them.
Can we get them with the agenda in the future?
Yes, I did not have them collated in time due to illness in the staff.
Okay. Well, one thing I've noticed is that we are a net borrower, which is good for us. So,
There's a couple ways to look at that. There's a couple ways to look
I
at
know there
that.
are. I'm looking at it in our favor.
We are borrowing more than we are lending,
Right.
so that could be seen as
Somebody
us
else.
not, us taking advantage of the system, and our patrons are using Monarch
Right.
Catalog. However, it can also be seen as we're not providing enough resources for our community. That's another way it can be seen.
Fort Washington has been a net borrower for years, so I wouldn't be concerned about it. Anyway, I'm not. Okay. I see the meeting room bookings increased, that's good. Generally, it's all good everything is
Yeah.
moving in the right direction.
Right, our
Thank you.
circulation is up a little bit for the year. Our attendance at programs is up. People are using the library, which is great to see.
Can I interpret that with computer logins down,
Correct,
usage is up? Means they're just using it longer?
correct.
Good.
And our wireless logins are up, which means more people are bringing in their devices to use in the library. So people who may have used our computers in the past may have gotten their own device,
Right.
and they're using it here.
Very good.
Anything else on statistics?
That's it? Library Board President's Report. This is the month that we have to start thinking about our evaluation of the director, so I will be sending out stuff early October or possibly by the end of this week. I'd like to get information back for me to present in closed session, a review, a preliminary evaluation at the October meeting. We will then do the finalized version in November because the appraisal or evaluation is due in December. So it's that time again. Any questions on that, or? We'll get out the objectives and Amy's reflections will be sent. Okay. Okay, number 8, old business. A, Monarch Library System update.
Okay, the biggest news is that Amy Bertel has officially resigned her position as system director. And the other big news from Monarch is that Lowell Public Library will be closing at the end of 2019.
And what is interesting, as a side note, the state does not have a procedure or a process of how to close a library.
Oh, really?
Wow.
There's, Lowell and Monarch are kind of stumbling through how this will be done.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lowell is closing mainly because of
I think they're having a hard time finding a director, number
They-
one, and they're so small that, their funding isn't quite
Adequate?
adequate, and
They couldn't find a director.
they couldn't find a
And
director,
they've had director turnover.
a lot.
And so the board just decided we'll just close the library.
The Lowell Library Board,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Wow,
And we don't even know what impact that will have then on,
great.
on Monarch. The whole thing
Right,
is
we will
gonna
have
be.
one less library in the system, which will impact, our system costs that we share across the board. So, we have not gotten any numbers as far as what that's going to do. However, in my report, I also noted that there are some things that we are no longer, we haven't used and we are no longer going to be using. Hold on, let me get to it.
Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The ILS committee brought recommendations, and the kids pack and the classic mobile, will be discontinued, so that will save us around $2,300 as a system. So, you know, that would be spread out amongst the libraries,
Yeah,
obviously, and hopefully we will get some, more information from Jennifer Chamberlain, our system director, as time goes on.
that is interesting, and I'd like, when it comes out, I'd like to bring that back just to see what happens when a library closes
Yeah.
for ramifications and stuff. Okay. Any questions on Monarch? Okay. Number 8, old business B, library basement renovation update.
The plans, the scope notes, and the bid documents have been created and sent to the committee for review. They are currently being reviewed by Building Inspection Department here at the city and by the committee as a whole. And I believe they are also going to be reviewed by our attorney to make sure everything's good to go with that. We talked about some specifications and things that need to be chosen, and building maintenance is also working with that so that we get things that our building maintenance people can manage, like faucets and, you know, choosing hardware and those types of things.
Does what the attorney is looking at, does that address funding?
No.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we discontinue this project. I don't think we have the funding for it. I don't think we're gonna see the funding reimbursement. And if we're going to have, well, I'm going to make a motion that we discontinue this project. That's the motion.
And
My reasoning is that if you listen closely to what Deb said last meeting, and you look at our fund balances and you look at our reserves and what the city is looking at to have as a reserve, we would not have enough money to handle this. The other thing is that we're looking at going ahead with a project, we're spending time on it, we have no idea about the funding. The two people that have been in charge of this have resigned. I think this is just a no-brainer and we should leave it.
I guess I will interject. I sat in on the last meeting that was on Friday, and this was actually brought up at the meeting whether we would go forward or not. And it was determined at the meeting of the parks and the library and even the city that we would put together the bid process to see what the costs were actually going to be. Because right now, we're kind of looking at speculative costs, I mean, or, you know, estimates. I think that's what has actually come out of the meeting.
That's what's come out of the meeting.
Because we've already agreed to pay for the initial process, and we have not made any more commitments.
That initial process fee was information that would be beneficial to us down the road. But when you heard the presentation given to us, there was speculation of how this would increase attendance at the library would be a positive for the library. And I don't see anything in this proposal that is a positive for the library. Well,
Yeah, I guess it hasn't gotten to that stage. I mean, the positive aspects for the library are non-tangible things. I mean, it's not a part of the plans for making changes in the basement. And I guess if I understand right, we don't have actual cost yet, and we haven't exhausted options to fill any potential funding gap. So I guess I think it might be a little bit premature to stop the conversation on the project. I guess I'd like to have us keep going until we've exhausted the alternatives that could make it work.
I'd go with that.
I think we have yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point where the money we invested and that Parks invested and our time is, we now have the materials that go out to bid. If we stop now, we're not gonna have the last of those answers.
Right.
I think what you're talking about, Doug, is the decision that needs to be made when these bids come back and it's X amount of dollars, and then we're having the conversation of, this is what we're charging Park and Rec for rent. Without all that information, I would say if we stop now, we're looking at the fact of what we just did for the last couple of months was really a waste of our time. I'm comfortable making that decision when we have all of that in front of us, but I feel like we stop now, then we pay the architect for nothing. That's just my personal belief on that. Let's use those documents, go out, get all this information, and then decide, because Park and Rec has to decide if this fits their vision, whatever changes in their leadership and whatever they're doing. We have to decide if it fits for us, and as much as I think many of us thought maybe this would go a little faster at the beginning, I don't know that this will be a fast process and a fast decision. There's a lot of things that get thrown into it. I think we have to get those things back before we can address those issues.
well, I'm willing to go along with that, but my gut feel, and you just take a look at some rough numbers, we're not gonna be able to do it. So that's why I'm proposing we end it now. If everybody wants to go ahead, just let my motion die.
One of the things that did come up at the meeting on Friday was the fact that Park and Rec, they're optimistic that they will go out and possibly seek outside funding in addition to the Park and Rec funding and what the library would have. So again, until we have the concrete numbers, I
Can we
think
put a deadline on concrete numbers?
until the bids go out and come back, I would think that would be,
So once we
Yeah.
did the paperwork, and I apologize, I couldn't make that meeting, I had something at work. Once those bid paperwork goes out, there's a deadline and all that comes back, then that group needs to start reviewing that and say, okay, this needs to go back to Park and Rec for discussion, this needs to come back to library discussion, maybe it's a joint meeting, whatever that looks like at that point. Once all that goes out and whatever time frame is set, that's when you're gonna get your deadline that here's what it would cost. You know, if it goes out and, I don't know what the timeline would be, a month from, that date, if it's December 15th, then that's when we can really start to look at those numbers at that point.
And I believe those bids were going out in November, if I remember right.
We wouldn't bid it necessarily in November without some level of discussion of, right, so we talked about getting the bid packet together and
Right.
the committee one more time to meet,
Mhm.
and then the bid,
Yes.
right, then
Right.
the document will go
Right.
out to find out those exact numbers. Currently, there's been some feedback since that last meeting from Mike Chevalier, who's an electrical contractor. He was able to provide some valuable insight at that meeting regarding placement of outlets and what kind of lights to use, more cost effective kind of stuff. That was
Okay.
really positive. And then, as Amy mentioned, our building superintendent, Todd Meeks, is working through the plan with his team. We have, he's a plumber himself, and we have an electrician on staff, and Rob. So those guys will go through it and find items that they can purchase through the city in order to save some dollars before it's bid. But there'd be a bid package put together, and then one more meeting. Amy met
We didn't talk about a date, we talked about a month. And that's what I was trying to say. Okay.
Any other discussion? You haven't set the next meeting.
There's still a motion.
There was a motion.
Oh,
on the table.
well, there was a motion. Do we have a second for the motion? Okay. So there was a motion, no second. We will move on.
Okay.
To old business, number C, the 2020 operating budget.
Okay, the budget that, this body approved is in your packet. Deb, Brad, and I had a meeting with city administration and the finance director. They noted the increase in materials that we had put in the budget. I explained to them that this is how we get circulations, this is how we get funding from the county. If you look at the transits, the borrowing is about $600 to $1,000, or 1,000 items more than we're lending. So there's a little disparity there as far as content being moved around the system. So I just wanted to update you on those things. I am prepared to go to the Common Council.
The reason she's updating you is the city has rejected the proposal that we presented to them, stating that they want to keep our budget at the same level we received in 2019, which would mean we would then have to look for areas to reduce cost. And of course, materials is one of the main things. So now you can say you want to go to the council.
I have been directed by this body to go to the council at the last meeting if need be. I'm preparing to do that. And that was all I was gonna say.
That's
So,
What is the date on that meeting? Do you know?
I do not know yet. I will be talking to the city clerk to find out the date.
It would probably be good that the board members show solidarity.
Could you please let us
Yeah,
know
would you-
what the date is on that?
October
October 7th?
Okay, that's good.
That's the common
And those are
council.
at 6:30, right?
Yep.
6:30 common council. Okay.
6:30, right at the city hall.
Yep.
Okay, so you get us on the agenda. Okay. Any discussion?
Did they seem to understand the materials issue? Like the reason why we tend to be, like the discrepancy you described, like of us not,
That we are getting $3.66 from the county per book. From the city, we're getting $2.52 when you equate it out into a cost factor.
right?
That was irrelevant to them.
I think we
Okay.
need to wait and see what happens at the city council meeting. We do have alternatives.
Yeah, and that's it. Any other questions? If anybody has anything regarding the budget, then they can get back to Amy on that. And you'll get something out
Yes.
to the board. Okay. All right. Moving on, number 9, new business, Act 24 discussion.
420.
Act 420, oh.
You just wanna
It
go on
is-
vacation.
I'm going on
Just go to
vacation
emergency.
and my mind is elsewhere, I guess.
I'd like to compliment Amy on the information that she has been sending us. I think it's well done. It presents a positive aspect of the current situation. There was a brief discussion about this at the Monarch.
Before we do that, I think we have the county representative who will be giving us a presentation
Did we ask for it?
Yeah, the county asked us to put them on, and that's why this is on. The Act 420 discussion was.
Do we think we need it?
I think so. I think we need to give the county
That's
the,
my question.
Okay.
so.
I do have a memo, which you may have, did you actually send the memo around like a week ago? I did add kind of some of the discussion points that have been happening and kind of reframed it a little bit.
Okay, first of all, can you introduce yourself, please?
Ethan Hollenberger
Yeah,
from the, she wants me on camera.
okay. Here, so, here, Ethan, you're welcome to stand in front
No.
or even sit.
No, I can stand, that's fine. If I stand, I'll leave quicker. So, this is largely the same stuff that you have in your packet. There's a couple things I added based on some of the discussion that happened. I do want to address the Daily News article today. They will be issuing a correction. We are not talking about consolidated libraries.
Not gonna talk about what?
Consolidated libraries.
Oh,
We are talking about joint municipal libraries. So consolidated libraries is something completely different and implies that the county's trying to take you over. It's not the case. So they will be effectively using the correct term of art as opposed to normal language in that. So what's the problem? We added some more figures in here, but we have a county library tax, basically it was created so that the county would fund non-served residents. It's been around for, some joint libraries have been around for 60 years, it's been around for a long time. Somewhere about 20, 25 years ago, they added this formula to guarantee that you were paid 70% of your circulation costs for in-county loans. Somebody from the town of West Bend comes to city library, we pay 70% of your cost of circulation. Now, you all know we have a different library agreement. We do it based on circulation and some other math, which is fine. But with that, we do pay more than the state mandated formula to the libraries. In 2006, that formula extended to adjacent counties. So Waukesha, anybody around us, except for Milwaukee, because they have a federated system. What happened was the first payment in 2008 was $76,000 to non-city residents that were going out of county. Today, that's $160,000. Net, from what the county has grown the levy over the last 11 years, libraries have actually been defunded about 12,000. It's 11,802. So we grew the levy, 148 and change over the last 11 years, and that wasn't enough to cover it. We've seen in the last 5 years a balloon in this, largely because costs in Waukesha County have increased. You said we pay $3.66 a book. We pay one library in Waukesha $8.08 a book, right?
Yeah.
We pay 70% of that.
No, we pay. That's the 70% figure. According to Ashley, I get my data from that.
Yeah.
So, again, I was told it was around $12 is what they charge.
Well, it's $8, we pay them anyways.
Right. So, so that's it. There's pressure on our levy every year. Last year, we've lowered your capital outlay, moved it to circulation. So something's happening, and we want to have a discussion on how to do it. You can see there are basically 4 solutions. There's consolidated library amount that is off. I'd strike that. Create joint libraries, attempt control costs with adjacent counties, or do nothing. So what is the goal of joint libraries? The goal is to serve people in your adjacent towns through an agreement that you sign with the town to serve their residents, and we come up with a funding mechanism to do that.
we don't do that now?
You serve them, but not
No,
under the state
you
statute.
say the goal is to serve as many Washington County residents with quality libraries. Are we not doing that now?
To serve them serve them officially, make them a served resident.
No, your statement says the goal is to serve as many
I
Washington.
use that as a term of art. I use that to mean that they now are residents within the West Bend libraries. That's how I use that. Does
So
that make sense?
will they get better service?
The
the goal is to retain as much of the levy as possible. So what happens is the calculation for adjacent counties, if the whole county is served, Shawano County, Langley County, there's several counties up north that have completely, their county is a member of a joint library, and then some of them have moved to consolidated systems. But everybody then is considered served, and the payments under chapter 43.12 isn't required by law. There's another funding mechanism. So the most recent example of a joint library is the town of Winneconne and the village of Winneconne. That agreement's being signed, or has just been signed. The town of Winneconne is now turning back 100% of their levy to the village of Winneconne. So depending on the funding mechanism that you choose, you could get more money, you could get less. Our goal is to smooth it through discussions to guarantee a status quo. The goal of the whole discussion, and on the next page I'll talk about what the resolution we're asking the municipalities to do actually does, is to how do we mitigate most effectively the growth in payments to out-of-county residents. So when somebody from the town of West Bend goes to Menominee Falls and we pay them a circulation rate of $4 or $5 a circulation, I don't know the number off the top of my head, how do we make sure that we kind of level it, the payments out? So the statute allows you to serve everybody, that's required, you serve everybody.
Do we pay Menominee Falls?
Correct.
Washington County does.
Washington, the county levy does.
Under the
Act 4.
joint libraries, would you then?
We would not, as long as the municipality resident is served, and by served I mean has an agreement with, the municipalities have agreement that we're being served by this library, they would not be required. There would be payments to reimburse if we have residents using those libraries.
To Menominee Falls?
To turn, if we decide that West Bend wants to keep their library cards on in Menominee Falls.
So, are you saying that if there is a joint library, Menominee Falls will still receive their payment?
They would not
Yes
be
or no?
they
Yes
would
or
not
no?
be legally entitled to that.
Okay, my question is, and you can answer it yes or no, will they get the payment or not?
We don't know because we haven't negotiated a joint library agreement.
Okay, if they don't get the payment, do you think they have any incentive to let a resident get a book from Menominee Falls? What is their incentive?
That is correct.
So, how are you providing this fantastic service if Menominee Falls can refuse to give a book to someone, and yet you're saying you've got a joint library?
Believe it or not, Menominee Falls refuses to serve the town of Germantown.
Village.
Or village, okay, the village of Germantown, because they have a library, so that is going on right now. That library is refusing to serve people. I don't know if that's correct by state statute. I have not really,
It is.
it is,
It's-
The village is a served area.
Yeah.
so that's why,
It's,
okay.
they've changed that statute since they've gone through that, and that's bigger than this discussion. We
Mhm,
can
No,
have
no,
that.
I'm just,
Well, then,
but I'm just
you're
saying.
also saying that you're looking for ways to change, to fund more money, and you decrease the amount of capital so that you could give it for operations to libraries within the county.
That was a
right?
request from the libraries, yeah.
Well, since most cities, it appears, refuse to approve a capital outlay, why not cut it some more?
That is a request. that the-
Because Germantown, or is it Hartford, has a tremendous amount of money sitting for capital outlay, but you can't spend it because the city won't.
That would be Slinger.
Huh?
That's the Slinger Library.
That's-
There is non-lapse
That's
money
later.
of, I don't know, 40,000-ish.
But again, that wouldn't have anything to do with this Act 24, because you would still, or Act 420.
No,
Because you still would have to pay that, so that's
No,
not.
what I'm saying is, the reason for this act, for this, is to look, and he said it, is that by decreasing their capital outlay, the libraries within Washington County were able to get some more money.
That is correct. That
Okay,
wasn't, I
so-
wasn't, again, that's not the purpose of this discussion. The purpose of the discussion is there's an issue happening. The librarians are seeing growth out. In the last 11 years, we're seeing a net decrease of 12,000. We want to open a discussion, and Winneconne called it an exploratory joint library committee, and see if we can find a funding mechanism that accomplishes the goals of all the librarians. And so I know everybody wants a lot of answers on what's the agreement going to look like, and is it going to be the same? There's a lot of reasons we can't do what other joint libraries have done, mostly because of the values around the county. Under no control of your own, if the Village of Richfield were to do a joint library agreement with either Hartford or Germantown, or create its own library, the county would lose almost $400,000 in the county library tax, almost a quarter of it. $369,000 is what they paid last year. And so what we're asking the body is, and the municipalities, is to start the process, bring in the Division of Libraries and Technology to create a plan, have the Division of Libraries and Technology issue an opinion on feasibility and desirability of that plan, and see if we can solve the problem under the current statutes. And because, I mean, that's what's happening. We want to be honest with you. I mean, I know Amy's probably told you about this before. When the capital outlay decision happened, probably last year, she told you about it. Waukesha County is 122,000 of that 660. I mean, it's because people are using those libraries and they are getting served. And I think, one of the issues is that there are kind of globally, Act 420 tends to be like an administrative shift of money, because it's kind of a wash in most places. About 5 counties, give or take, it's not a wash. It's either a net positive or a significant net decrease. Kewaunee County is one of those that are in the same boat as us, that I know off the top of my head. And Shawano County was for a while.
Well, if there are a number of questions that can't be answered, and you're asking us still to go ahead, this is kind of like Obamacare.
No.
Implement it, and then we'll figure out how we fix it.
No, because the reason is we're not telling you to approve a plan, we're not telling you to say, create a joint library at all costs. We're saying, whatever verb you want to use, pursue, explore, study, get more information on, that's what the resolution's intent is to do. And so...
Well, have you thought about having the systems? Why not have the users and the people that know how this works try to work it out, rather than, from what I see, a number of politicians trying to figure out how to fix a problem they don't know anything about? Why not go to the library directors or to the library systems and say, Monarch, can you get together with Waukesha system and the two systems work together, because you guys know how it works. Just like when we did the combination at Monarch, there was a facilitator that took these 4 counties, and those 4 counties worked it out.
That's exactly what we're proposing. We're proposing to bring Shannon Schultz from the DPI to work with us on a joint library plan.
But you're leaving out the systems. Why don't you have the systems see if they can do it?
Jennifer, I mean, she's
Okay.
she's been on emails.
Is it okay? if we
Certainly.
go? Hi, Doug, Jennifer, Tricia, Hartford, Georgia. So, Jennifer Chamberlain is very involved in this discussion with us. She's with it 100%. And, she had a conversation with Connie from the Bridges Library System on Friday about looking and having a conversation about a contract. Looking at it, the Waukesha, the Bridges Library System has a contract like this with Lake Shore's library system. the cost that that Lake Shore reimburses Waukesha is $5 a serve, and that's the state average. So there is precedent for this. So Connie and Jennifer had a very long conversation, and we asked her, the 5 of us asked her if she would do that, and she did that. She needed to set up a meeting.
Okay,
So
thank you. Thank you. I think we need to thank you for your
Yep.
presentation. I think we've carried this as far as we can go right now. I think we need to get some more information from Monarch. We as a board, if you're interested in this, there's documentation you can start looking at and trying to get some background information. Thank you, Ethan.
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to keep.
Yeah, well, I've got a number of questions.
At this point though, Doug, I don't think they're going to be answered. And I don't,
Well,
okay, what do you want to say, Doug?
no. Okay. You're suggesting we do something without asking questions, and there's a concern.
Okay.
And how can we say, go ahead and do something if we don't know anything about it?
Well, we're not going to say, this was just a discussion to throw it out. We're not
Okay.
saying we're doing anything, we're not approving anything. Joseph?
Well, I was just gonna say, he's basically asking us to consider it. He's not saying we have to finalize it this meeting.
And maybe, like you said, with Jennifer, if something better can be come up with between
Right.
the two systems, between Monarch and, yes, and would
It-
benefit
it
the
has
county
open
and all
first.
of us.
Right.
And with, this, the idea is to keep the money in the county. So I think if Monarch's on board with this going forward,
I
that's.
mean, I will say, with some of these resolutions being approved, because some of the townships have approved them, they've already been approved, it has created some leverage, which I think is what Ethan wanted initially, when you talked to us 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
He didn't have any leverage when he went to
Right.
talk to them.
That is correct.
He
So
tried
They,
talking
they
to
know
them.
we're crazy enough to do something weird.
It's hard for them
Just
to
kidding.
believe.
I don't know if the council will, I know that our library board did not, we were pretty tough on Ethan last week.
Well, that's all right.
I had enough Red Bull.
Pretty rough. But our library board is in the same boat that you're, what you're
Correct.
saying,
Correct.
is we need more information.
And I don't think we don't disagree with that. I mean, we're not I think that's where the library board and I agree with you. You don't agree with us. I agree with you, and we intend, I mean, Winnet County took 18 months to do this. I mean, it
And
was,
one of the things I'll throw out that I know will not make me look good to any of the cities is, it says there are 4 basic solutions. You know what the 5th one is? Fund the libraries to a level of Waukesha, and we'd be up there.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
is
Right.
another solution.
And even with the negotiations, we can, even if we negotiate with Waukesha, we're still going to be paying them for service because our patrons go to those libraries.
Yep.
And
We don't
because
have libraries
we
close
keep
by.
our costs low for the service we
that
provide.
is 100% the issue.
Right.
That's 100%
And that
the
is
issue.
the main issue.
100%.
Will we ultimately truly have a choice, or are we gonna eventually just be forced
No.
into, like, if everybody around us,
Well,
No,
the-
no,
So, what choice into what?
like, being a joint?
It's not the county, unless the county signs an, I mean, no, the answer is it's the municipal
It's
decision.
a municipal
Okay.
decision,
Yeah,
it's not
I
a council
mean-
decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, other counties have gone more drastically than we have. What they did is they found their resource library and created a joint county library with them. And so everybody was served, and then they kind of still played it the same way. We're not proposing to be a partner. We're proposing, hey, you guys consider,
But you're proposing
Serving.
that the county backs out, basically.
No, no,
you
no.
know? The
No, no, no.
county would still be involved in the distribution
in the
of the
levy, yeah,
funding?
we believe that has to happen because of the
Okay.
way the equalized and the
Okay.
assessed values are.
Okay.
Well, that brings up a question that I had, because I was thinking, I think the same as you said. So if the county still is gonna have a hand in the funding, do we also then get additional levies from these towns that we're serving?
Depends on the agreement.
Yeah.
It really depends on the agreements.
well, if you get additional funding from the towns, then their taxes go up.
Yeah.
There's exemptions in the levy in the law, West Bend qualifies, but if West Bend were to dip below that, they theoretically could be doing 2 levies. But again, we wanted to throw out This is an issue, I believe, as I said to the county board, the statewide system is a terrible resolution. I said that to Jennifer. It was a point of agreement in their board, because I don't think it's realistic, as I said. And so we were trying to find put all the possible solutions on the table. And that's where we're at.
And actually, there's one other, I'm always thinking of different things. The other one is to approach our state legislature, assembly, and senators and try and sway them. And based on what we're hearing, the amount of, it's about 8% that is actually gaining money, 8% of the libraries. You guys had brought up about how many libraries are, most of them are awash, a lot. Okay, percentage-wise, it's about 1/4%, and of that 1/4%, half of that 1/4% is losing money and half is gaining money. So that is really 1/8% of the counties. So I think there could be a valid push with the other counties to try and get Act 420 eliminated.
Deb, I agree with you.
I know, I've talked with them.
From a political, can I convince legislators to agree with us?
No, I know, but that is
I
another
can't
one.
get WLA and my librarians to, I mean, that's why I'm here, Deb, because I could have used WLA's data and said, I'm gonna pick the senators and I'm gonna do exactly what you did.
Well,
And I have a member of my board that agrees with you. He said so very publicly the other day. But again, I think Jennifer and others understand that I'm not trying to blow a system up and cause problems.
I
I mean,
understand.
we really just want to have a big discussion here, and
I understand, but there are other ways.
There
There
are-
could be
there
backdoor
are- there
ways of
are-
doing things.
there
I'm
are.
always optimistic
no,
that
I
we can
agree with you.
push
Deb.
some of these people.
I'll put you in the column of change state law.
Well, I will talk to my assemblyman. He's on vacation now, but I will talk to him.
Ours, by the way, your legislators in Washington County are well
I
aware
know
of it
they're on it.
and would support a repeal, with the exception of maybe Senator Darling. But, and the reason she represents the libraries that gain the most.
Yeah,
So,
we used to live in Oakland, so.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right.
Deb, I
Brad?
have one question for Jennifer. Jennifer, how many communities in Washington County are on board with this at this time? Do you know?
The village of Jackson approved it, the town of Hartford approved it, and the town of Farmington has.
Town of Erin.
They have approved it? Okay.
So four out of 20. Okay, very good.
Well, also, has anybody talked to the Department of DPI?
Yes.
Shannon, that was the
Because
guy, Shannon who was working
They're
on it.
also looking at a statewide library system.
You mean through the PLSR?
Yes.
That's actually doing some consolidating of systems and doing like more regionalized things. It's not really one, the way that,
But they're looking at,
they're looking at consolidating from 16 to 8 or 8 to 12.
And that's just
or-
systems,
That's
that's
just
not,
systems.
that's not,
That's in a.
And that's not-
that's nothing to do
It
with
has
that,
nothing to do with
Act
Act
420.
420.
I know that.
Some people don't.
And we, as a board, cannot vote on this tonight because it was not included as a voting
Right.
item on our
I was told
agenda.
it was a discussion.
So,
Yes, we want.
okay.
What's the number, if it goes down to 5, let's say that's able to be negotiated between the two library systems, down to 5 from something, I don't know what the X is now, $5 per circle.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's the agreed upon, state average, if that's the agreed upon number, what is the impact to the 160,000 that currently goes out? And if, presumably it would be less, so why would we negotiate it, right? So something less than 160 goes out to the neighboring counties, what would happen to that money that's left over?
We put it in, we would probably, Jennifer, if I'm wrong, we probably put it in circulation.
We would. Any
Circulation.
Would there
Yes.
be any,
This levy
That's
can't
what
be
it's
touched on
called.
anything else.
would there be any guarantee that money would come back to the libraries, because
Yes.
Yes,
It has
Unless the
to.
county cuts it,
it's a
It
tax
has to.
levy.
has to
It's a
come
tax
due.
levy for
So
the libraries.
When we made the proposal for this budget year to cut the capital by 50%, all of that pretty much went to offset the increase in Act 420, and it gave each of us a little bit more. But to your point about some of the libraries, so like the town hall library, they would, instead of being paid $8.06 a serve, they would be paid $5, so they would lose money. The payments to Sussex would go up a bit, because right now they're being paid $3.59, they'd go to $5. And Menominee Falls is at $4.99, so for them, so it would be a wash. So it potentially would go up. But at the same time, I think if you're making this effort to do this, I think the county, I don't know, maybe the county board would be a little more apt to, I think this might be a little more palatable than these costs just continuing to escalate. I don't know, I don't have a read on it.
So you could do the math.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
have the
Absolutely.
spreadsheet.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have the spreadsheets, yeah.
Yeah, they offered 5, I mean, that's where we were really far apart, is it really didn't make sense for us at the time to do 5, because it only saved us a little bit on the margin, and,
Exactly.
you know, it wasn't an urgency to say, we want to pay you what we pay our libraries, is what I offered, and we can't get there,
Yeah.
but I have to start, I mean, and so
Right.
it wasn't, yeah, we're trying. I mean, again, this is honestly a discussion, and we told them we were gonna be aggressive to get resolutions so that, you know, we could, have cards in our pocket and say, you know, at any moment, we're ready to go. And, you know, I'm scared, they're scared of joint library agreements being a house of cards, where what has happened of pre-levy limits is, you know, the town was levying above what the county would be levying, and then they say, well, we can keep that levy for ourselves and then push it, and then the county levies on it, and so that was a play to get more money into towns, and so they let their joint agreements lapse. They're scared of that. I'm scared of, we're cutting this deal, and then 10 years from now, they recalculate and they say, we need $300,000 more out of you, Washington County, and we have a big balloon payment, and we have to figure out what to do with that. So that's why I think the discussion it seems like it's a done deal, but I'm being honest, it's really infant, so we can figure out, like, is there a better way to look at this whole globally, to do it, and, you know.
The question, oh, go ahead.
Regarding the CERCs, if the joint library board model was pursued, and the towns and Village of Jackson and Village of Newburgh that you were considering aligning with
Yep.
West Bend happened.
Yep.
That Brad ran that number of in-county circulations is 116,000.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
How, if any, change in funding would that, that's a big number, would that addition of circulations to West Bend Library?
Those are part of the formulas that we want to run to make sure because we have to have money to pay to keep library cards on, we have to have money to make sure we hold harmless, you know.
It's not necessarily the circulations, it's the fact that you're gonna get the town of Trenton's tax levy, where the rest of the libraries won't. And West Bend, because they do the biggest service, they're already getting they're getting about $500,000 I ran the numbers today, it would be like 500 and some thousand. So,
I know what we're currently getting, I'm saying with those additional 160,000 CERCs, what additional monies would this buy?
We would
That's
probably
additional
lose,
money.
we would probably lose
We're
because it would.
proposing, Jay, like, part of the discussion that we're not, the pot doesn't shrink, and so because the pot doesn't shrink, we should hold harmless probably. Does that make sense? Is that you serve people, we figure out a way to do, I mean, again, it's all like,
So,
how do we do it?
you're not gonna get payment from the town of Hartford, I get that, so you wouldn't be getting that, like I wouldn't be getting town of Trenton anymore. I would still pay that, there wouldn't be division anymore, it would be.
It's not based on circulation anymore, it's just based on
Who has what library?
Correct. And they could still go to anywhere in the county that they wanted, and you could still serve them, but your payment is coming directly instead of through the whole group.
Through the county.
I don't know if that's the best way to explain it. Steve and I had a similar conversation today.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most referendums are. How much
And we currently get that cert from the,
What's goofy about all this, Jay, and everybody,
Replacements.
in my mind, probably yours, the formula is different than the state statute.
We'll take it.
So
Right.
it's
It's
truly
not
a
a-
percent of
It's not a,
usage.
it's not
Lost
a
in the
true
trees.
70%.
We're getting lost in the
Percentage
trees.
usage.
Yeah.
Percentage of usage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I really think we need to pull our meeting back.
We'll see you guys, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Ladies, I think you're welcome to stay if you'd like to, otherwise, okay. Okey doke.
We're getting near the end anyway.
All right,
I'm-
I think we all need to try and get our heads around
Yeah.
this and come up with questions and ask
Please
them.
ask questions, please
I'm moving
email
on to
me,
90.
call me, come to my office and talk to me, any way you can get a hold of me, please do. This issue is a big one in the county, and, the librarians are working together to hopefully resolve it in the best possible way, so.
If we give you questions, does that mean we'll get answers?
I will do my best to get you answers, and I will tell you if I cannot get answers.
Okay.
And is there a timeline that they're looking at to have like agreement or disagreement?
No, but they're pushing
They're
for.
pushing hard.
They're pushing for this as soon as possible. I believe they are going to the Common Council on the 23rd, with that.
The city is going to the common, or the super,
No, the
the
county.
county super, not the, they're not going to the common council, they're going to the county supervisors.
Are they going to the city common
They're going to
council?
the city Common Council
Oh,
Why?
they are?
to get the
No.
resolution passed.
They're not,
No?
yeah, I didn't,
Okay,
what would, I don't know.
this discussion for the resolution.
Why is it going to the common council, the city?
We just said it's not going to see.
Okay, it's
I know
not.
nothing about it.
okay,
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 time out,
Okay.
but it has to be approved by the library boards and according to, it has to be approved, I think, by the city council people too, because they would be affected with the funding and everything. So this is not just a simple thing, so that's why it would go to them.
That's
But
what
I
I-
wouldn't think it would go to the council before the board approved or
The
did
mayor
anything.
controls the agenda, I don't.
Yeah, no, no.
Putting it on, typically he talks to me about it, but
You haven't heard about that one yet?
I have
Okay.
not heard that.
Okay. Okay.
Ashley and Ethan gave us a date and maybe a tentative date, and maybe they haven't gotten there yet. Well,
Okay.
I think they're getting
I will keep you
overwhelmed.
apprised as I know more information.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Moving to number 9, new business B, replacement of library network switches approval.
I had brought you this, information in July that we were going to need to, replace the switches, for our technology network. I have worked with, Tim on this proposal that is in your packet. And, our switches have reached end of life. They are still functioning right now, but I don't want them to go down, because that would be very terrible. And at the moment, the city is handling the switches. We have 3 large switches in our automation room that each have 48 ports. So my proposal is to continue services with the City of West Bend's IT department in this way.
Did we get something back from the,
isn't there
Wasn't
something
somebody
coming
gonna
back
do-
from Monarch?
no,
Monarch has different switches than what we
yeah,
need.
that- but wasn't,
But if we use their switches, then.
Then
would
we
they-
need like 6 or 7 of them.
Would they pay for them?
No,
Would we get any financial assistance?
maybe 1.
Okay.
I think it comes down to the need for this, so there's a couple things. Number one is, because this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your network is like mine. This is your phones and things like.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not about Wi-Fi and other things. So you're talking really about who's supporting. And my understanding is this is the model and the type of switch that the city chooses to put into their network for their reasons. And so I think if you're gonna ask them to support it, then it has to fit in that confines. I think the part that we need to know as a board and understand is that they're expecting a 6-year life cycle. So in 6 years, somebody's coming back asking for 3 new switches again. And halfway through this, there's a software and hardware assurance renewal at 3-year mark. So in 3 years, there's gonna be another expenditure, and I'm trying to look at it here.
It's $3,000.
$3,000 of that support. So depending upon the type of switches you buy, some that's included up front with a longer term, this is how this company does that provides that. So just know that there's an ongoing cost in 3 and then a replacement in 6 in the back of our minds that we're planning for that in budget, that it just doesn't show up.
Why are we paying for it rather than the city, since it's a city building?
The city fund that financed these switches that we have currently in no longer exists.
So
That puts the onus on the departments that have switches.
should we put this in our budget?
I would think so, eventually, but
But no, this is.
not this budget.
Yeah,
To your point, that's what I'm getting at, is in 3 years,
Put
when
it in,
the budget
right.
is brought forward, there should be a line item of $3,000 for software and hardware assurance
Correct.
for these 3 switches. And then in 6 years, whatever
We
the
put it in
estimated
the-
cost or whatever it is in what product they're purchasing at that point.
We had been saving money in the technology fund balance for this type of purpose,
And the total cost is,
around $20,000 total.
and that's
For
for all
everything.
3, yeah, that's
For
what's for
everything.
everything. I have one
Yeah.
little pet peeve, and it might have to go to the city, but the switches that we use, and I think the city uses the same, it doesn't show on caller ID, it says unavailable. I think we, as a city and library, should be proud of our name to show what we are, and I'm wondering if that
I
can
don't
be
know
addressed.
where that is.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be tied to this, that's your voice over.
That's a voice.
Okay,
over
oh,
IP.
that's the
How
BO
spread on
voice,
the
okay,
outside.
all right.
Just
That's
like if
voice.
I call up.
I was thinking
it
we
may not
could
be
do
the number
that.
I'm calling from in our system, because we
Okay.
have consolidated outside numbers.
Yep.
So that would be a configuration change.
Okay.
In your.
In the voice.
system.
I will approach that elsewhere.
so do we have a motion to be made to approve $20,000 for the replacement of the library network switches?
That's
I'll
what
make
I'm asking for.
Jesse, you'll make the motion?
I'll make the motion,
Do
yep.
we have a second?
Okay, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Time out, where's this coming from?
The technology
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
It's-
technology, you had said that, okay.
fund balance.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to take 20,000 from the technology fund balance to pay for the library network switches replacement.
Can I make one more caveat?
Sure.
That half comes from the county and half comes from the city funds.
Funds, technology fund. Okay, we now have a motion
Okay.
coming from both places. And a second.
Okay, so Amy, I'm gonna ask one other question.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily pertain to this purchase, but in the future, can the library use category 2 E-rate funds that are available to public libraries like it is for school districts? To fund some of these, so depending upon that funding piece with E-rate, that's something to look at.
We will look at
wouldn't do
that.
it for now, because the
Right.
funding year's closed. But
I
as
will
we
look
know
at
that
it.
up front, that is
Mhm.
something that you could
Okay.
apply
E-rate.
for that. I don't know what that reimbursement rate is for you guys.
Is it
but
ERAY?
E-RATE.
E dash-
E-rate.
Oh, rate, RATE, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how that applies to category 2 in public
E-rate,
libraries,
excuse me.
but if that's a big, that would be an offsetting cost.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Okay.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next meeting will be October 15th. We will go into closed session for the preliminary evaluation. Sign tasks, Jesse?
I just have 2, unless I missed something. Amy, you're gonna ask Carrie if the $70 in the Patrons Park Fund is interest or not. And you're gonna email Jay with a follow-up about who's responsible for the building.
I will also send evaluation information to the library board members. And,
Goals and, yeah,
yes,
okay.
Can I ask a question going back to the budget? Or not?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, no, because what wasn't brought up, and I think it was one of her assigned tasks, was to find out how the income, where that comes from. Wasn't that one of your previous tasks?
income.
Hold on.
What income?
Interest income. On the budget, we show interest income.
You put that in there.
Report. It
That
was in
was
my
in your,
director's report.
Okay, then I missed it in the director's report.
Yeah.
okay.
Because to show that interest income in our budget is not accurate, because that interest income needs to be spread among the fund balances also, because those are collecting interest. And those are not part of the budget.
That's correct. So that's true, the interest collected is on the lump sum, and some of that is fund balances, which is not,
So if the lump
which is not
sum
budget. Okay.
is 10,000,
Yeah, I
and
see what you're saying.
3,000 of that is fund balances, then 30% of that has to go over to fund balances.
I will talk to Carrie about that. And how that, just
But
to
are we
make sure
going to
that
change
that's.
the budget?
We have approved the budget for 2020, so we
Okay.
wouldn't be changing it at this time.
Okay.
If we would, then I'd add the 10,000 that Chris said for emergency fund. Okay, with that, we are adjourned.
Okay.
7:42.